Hey everybody, welcome to the Evening Brew Podcast. I'm your host Salman Sajid, and today I have with me a very interesting guest. It's none other than BeatBaksho. So for all the people who don't know who BeatBaksho is, let me give you a small introduction. So BeatBaksho is a guitarist, a beatboxer, and a voiceover artist. BeatBaksho is a person who has given a platform to many beatboxers in Bangladesh who are very underrated, and also has hosted many tournaments like Battlebox Bangladesh. And he is also the founder of the YouTube channel Beatbox Bangladesh, which has over 100,000 subscribers. So, enlisting all of these amazing achievements, the most interesting question, or the most awaited question that I want to ask him right now is, how are you doing, man?
I am doing so good right now. It is absolutely amazing.
The sarcasm's high. The sarcasm's high.
By the way, I have to correct you on something. BeatBaksho is the only solo thing. Everything else, I believe in a lot of teamwork, and it isn't just one person. So I'm not the founder of Beatbox Bangladesh. I'm one of the founders, but we basically split it into co-founders. So the guy who brought in the idea was Ronesh Vishwas, basically, aka Annex. So props to him first. Then I'm the other guy. So it's both of us together. And then the entire community. So yeah.
Well, our research team, I guess we'll have to improve our research a bit more. But thank you for updating it. But I wanna say something, which is how I came across you was this collab with Ontik Mahamud. It was how I feel like Amader Boyshi Jeshob, the generation that we have, it basically Gen Z looks very like, we look up to these next gen content creators like Ontik Mahamud and many. Mm-hmm. So that collaboration, we were like, who is this guy, BeatBaksho? And then that one search up led to like at this whole world of beatboxing, from Battlebox Bangladesh and everything. So it's crazy. So one of the most like pushed questions, another team member was really pushing for this was, how did the collaboration with Ontik Mahmood happen? I want to get like this question out of the way.
Well, first of all, I'm not going to do the whole sugarcoating stuff. Nothing like that. But fact is fact. What I feel, I really bolbo, whatever questions you'll be throwing at me. Ontiker, Protoma, I'll have to speak about the guy himself. Collab ta asche okhan theke, so you'll get to know the story. What I do is আমি অনেক ঘাটি, আমার research জিনিসটা আমার একটা বিশাল বড় ব্যাপার. There are times like, it's not that I know everything, but thanks to YouTube and everything, আমি just সারাক্ষণ বসে ঘাটতে থাকি. I look at everything from advertising world to gaming to whatever. অনেক কিছু জানি, অনেক কিছু জানি না. Anime বলো, even K-pop. I love K-pop a lot. I don't care what people think. তারপর অনেক কিছু আছে that I constantly look into. And এই animated যে YouTubers দেশের বাইরে, আমি তেমন ঘাটিনি দেখিনি. But I would see Nigahida. I'm a huge fan. Sadly, he just went into Twitch and started gaming and just disappeared out of nowhere. So ওরম করতে করতে I found a couple of animators from South Asia. Ontik কোত্থেকে আসছে আমি জানি না. And absolutely wasn't like, আমি দেখি বাংলাদেশে আছে নাকি anime. No, it wasn't like that. Just popped out of nowhere. And I think he was there during the early Ontik Mahmoud days. And I was really impressed by one thing from this guy, his sense of humor. If there's anything that absolutely makes me be very interested in an individual, it's the sense of humor. It tells a lot of stories. It's like kind of like, in this side of the room, you're like, you get it? And the other guy goes like, I know, he literally told me volumes of stories already by just that one gesture. Ontik is that character, and I absolutely adore this guy. So, or animation dekhte, obviously I'm, being a fan or being just someone, I'm like, hey, Ontik, absolutely brilliant job. And he knew me. Well, he knew me through whatever. Maybe, I don't recall exactly how. BUP the perform course or something like that. I don't know. But we just normally started talking. এরকম করতে করতে অনেক গল্প হইতো, স্টাফ হইতো. Never thought of collab. এমনি গল্প টল্প হইতো, suddenly he was like, "Bhai, I have this idea. Why don't we do this?" So this was way, like I think a year-ish, half later after Ontik crossed 100K, he wanted to celebrate 100K. I forgot what he wanted to celebrate. Just can't remember. Was it the 200K mark or whatever? Something. হঠাৎ করে মনে পড়ছে না. And then he goes like, I have this idea, ভাই আমি এটা করতে চাচ্ছি. And I was absolutely thrilled because if I can work with someone with this kind of chemistry, মানে যেটা আমি expect করি, great. And we hit it off. Best part about অন্তিকের আসলে কি, he's like saying আমি এটা করবো, যে আমি এরকম একটা গান লিখছি and stuff like that. It could be anyone. I don't want to mention any other YouTuber or content maker creator's name. It doesn't mean that bhaya korbo means I'll just do it. It depends or personality kemon or style kemon. It doesn't fit with me. Or as all the advertising world is like tomoke ami exposure dibe, you'll earn a lot of exposure. Ondike through ta amar ei jinishta kono iya chilo na because amar ekta style ekta standard, ondike ekta style ekta standard. There is no way that ondikeর fans would go like, oh my god, BeatBaksho. That's not how it works. Because ওকে যেভাবে ফলো করে থাকে, my people is different. And at that মানে আর আমি এমন পয়েন্ট অফ লাইফে আছি যে আমার আসলে যায় আসে না. As long as someone goes like, I can relate with what you're doing, that's it, I'm done. Whether it's one person or 100, doesn't matter. But Ontik's approach was like this. He actually wrote, কি বলবো, bars. He wrote a lot of stuff. Yeah, bars to believe in the hip hop years and guys, any rappers out there, please don't diss me. I might miss a word, term or two. But I do listen to a lot of hip hop. And I was like, wow, it's not just a sense of humor. Because our scripting, আমার এত ভাল লাগে. Our scripting লিখতো পর্যন্ত description and his, you know, how he would ad-lib and put stuff in and give his own voice. And I'm like, you know, like being a voice artist, I'm এটা পছন্দ. So when I read his stuff, I'm like, dude, whoa, this is brilliant. And I composed the music, but he composed the flow. মানে ওটা কিন্তু ওর লেখা, আমি কিচ্ছু লিখিনি এখানে. So that's how the collab came through. And I was like, acha, amar jodi room thake ekhane to make it how I wanted, that's where we got the magic happened. Ontiker lekhar style, his scripting, the way he did the stuff, tokhone kintu arter byaparta asheni. And I brought in what I've learned when I was a kid, what made me into who I am, the old school hip hop. If you listen to the track, there's a that is an ode to the early 90s hip hop style, and the beatbox is very old school. It is one of the most used beats from the boom bap days. So humor or, you know, cringy rap kurse egle aside, anyone who's into old school hip hop, they'll understand exactly what I did. That is the reason I work with him.
It's a vibe, Arki.
It's a vibe.
If you know, you know.
If you know, you know. Yeah, that's the line. I am a huge fan of this crew called A Tribe Called Quest. And ora kintu ei jinishta onek kore. And they storytell. মানে there are amazing rappers in the country. The অন্তিকের লেখাটা এমন সুন্দর ছিল, it fit the way I think. And আমার ব্যাপারটা হচ্ছে I wanted to be a storyteller. তো তুমি বুঝছো এখন এই ব্যাপারটা হলো এরকম দাদা 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 and দাদা দাদা দাদা, not like বুঝছো আমার গলিতে এসে তোমাকে আমি, nothing like that. You know, অন্তিক had to say something. He had a story. That's how the collab happened. I'm like, you speaking my mind. That's it. Boom. And it just happened. Brilliant, actually. I think it was, I would say it's one of my best যদি collaboration বলে থাকি, because what for me is magical or amazing, it's not what comes after it or the response, it is the work that happens when it happens. So Ontik's সাথে I've had an absolute brilliant time. Just happened like that.
So
okay?
Like
go beyond your question. Anyways,
So basically, yeah. So all of these collaborations, let's just go back to the beginning.
Okay.
Obviously, I'm young, very young, still progressing through life, going through many stages and everything. Amar sob shomoy, as I'm a typical, born in a typical brown family, I have this question in my mind. Talk about Ontik Mahmood is just an example. I think the OJ basic korsilo, which was all of these passion, all these individuals, talk about you, talk about Ontik Mahmood and many other individuals, the extent you've gone to represent your passion is like crazy. So it's like to all of the people, you know, how at this age we're at this point, jekhane people when they fail SSC or A levels, O levels, talk about that, they get so depressed, they lose everything and they even quit their lives, right? And it's like I've
lost a couple of friends choto bhai boner like this and anyways, that's whatever. Yeah.
And like what I want to ask with you is like, personally, all of the projects and fitness, or there are a few things I'm into. So I feel like these projects and these things actually work like stress relievers. How how was your experience? Like, was there any point যেখানে, you know, like you felt like, you know, doing this maybe isn't worth it, or like your journey from the beginning? Would you like to share that? How it all began, you know, this whole journey.
How it all began is a question, and what you mentioned is a different question. Which one should I answer? Because you mentioned
from
about
the beginning.
Okay. Then you mentioned about the psychology and the whole feeling of giving up and everything. So do you want me to conclude with that?
Yes, sir.
All right, so let's start from the top then. The origin story of BeatBaksho, if you want to start that. Then this BeatBaksho, the origin started because of my parents, obviously, besides the fact that I came into this world. But even who I am is because of who my parents are. I believe it is one of the most important. It is one of the. Everyone will have their own perspectives. This is mine. Everyone will. Okay, I'm saying the same thing over and over again because I really feel about this. See, where you grow up, the environment that you live in has a huge impact. You know, like absolutely, like the bishal boro byapar. And like, if I grew in a family where my parents were, and thankfully they're not, they were like, you know, like all bickering, fighting, and all I would hear every morning would be like, "Ah!" You know, এরকম একটা environment যদি বড় হতাম, out of thousands of outcomes, দুটা জিনিস হতো। একটা হচ্ছে I would have been the worst version of who I could have been because of the impact of the negativity and the sound. And then there's the other version where something inside me goes like, nah, you can be better. You could be the complete opposite of what you're facing. And, you know, come into the light and do something better. Some find religion, some find music, some find solace in something, you know. Eta bishal boro byapar hoye thake. Amar parents brought nothing but wonders into my life. And, you know, they even met through music. Even though my dad absolutely is absolutely tone deaf, but they met through music. And because my dad used to write, my mom used to sing. And they were part of a group where, like, amader generation, but say your generation, quickly I'm into jinish boli, what is the most common group you have? Are they related to anime or fitness or something, or whatever? Like, you know that someone or some people from this group will go into something that you know they're already doing right now. What category is that, if there's a word for it?
You can say content creator. Like,
content creation, acha, content creation. I'll stop you there. Because what content creation was 10 years ago, it's different now. And it's everyone, there is the whole, yeah, I could make a lot of stuff. Then I'll be like, no, I mean, properly chinta kore thanda mathaye banacchi stuff. Like a quick praise to you, by the way. I've done a lot of these, not some of the podcasts recently or interviews like this, where they start off with a lot of rustiness, but you started off very confident, which is a very plus point, by the way. I absolutely admire that. I'm not giving like how many stars and stuff, but it gives off a good vibe of conversation. You feel like talking, or you could be the only one talking the entire time. So going back to what I was saying, আমার বাবা মা ওই জিনিসটা থেকে আসছে, you know, they were part of a group which branched out into some of the biggest musicians in the country. Renessa, Souls, Ayub Bachchu, everyone might call him Bhai or legend. For me, he's an uncle. So এরকম করে আমি বড় হয়েছি, not like ওনাদের পাশে বসে কোলে বসে এরকম টাইপের না, but I would hear them, I would know them. So my mom was নজরুল গীতি করতো, রবীন্দ্রসঙ্গীত নিয়ে করেছে. My dad would be an artist, he's an artist and photographer and everything. You know, I usually হয় কি এরকম টাইপের একটা ফ্যামিলির মধ্যে বড় হলে you kind of become like an updated version of them. You download the entire information like, haha, I got that, you know. And everyone expects you to be like, oh, মুখ ভাইয়ের ছেলে এত ভালো হবে, উনি তো এরকমই করতো. I became the opposite. I didn't even acquire what my parents had. And I was like, oh man, you know, my mom would teach students, my dad would teach students, whenever they did, you know, office birthday and stuff like that. I could be the ones already knowing the entire thing. I would be like, what is this? You know, it was weird. And late bloomer যেটাকে বলে, and অনেক আছে না শিখতে গিয়েও শিখেনি. So I was that lazy bum. That's stupid of me. That's why that, by the way, I'll hook onto this. It's a future issue. The question that you asked about the whole feeling, psychology and everything, it are connected. That's why my story dike gelam. So I hope I can remember that. So ছোটবেলায় মা গান শেখাতো, গান শেখানোর সময় obviously beatboxing just started when I was born. Beatboxing started like a year before that in the world. Not vocal percussion, that was thousands of years ago. মা গান শেখাতো বললে বা ছোটবেলায় আমি ঘুম থেকে উঠে হয়তো মার কণ্ঠ শুনতাম, so this would get into my mind. And obviously being a musician, my mom's যে বাচ্চাদের ঘুম পাড়ানি system, যেটা I experimented that with my cousins. She would, when you do that with your kid, there was a rhythm. Believe it or not, and I did that in my TEDx talk. That was probably the only good thing I said in my entire TEDx talk. Life starts with a beat, because it does. Not just the heartbeat. So everything around me was rhythm. Everything around me was like sound, like the creation, color, because of my dad would draw, and I saw all of these. And I think it's one of the biggest blessings, that your parents are literally the musical, the creative school that you would want. Oneke to struggle kore eta payo na, but sadly, like I said, I didn't download it from them. So গান টান শিখতাম, ইয়াতে করতাম, তবলাও শিখেছিলাম. I used to live in the Middle East. কে জানে আমার তবলা চুরি করে ফেলছে, so আমার তবলা শেখা হয়নি. So I do remember my basic lessons, whatever. So I could do কয়েকটা জিনিস পারি. মানে তবলা চুরি করছে যখন সৌদি আরব যেখানে থাকতাম, তবলা তোর কেনা যায় না, no one would do music, but they would, but তবলা wasn't every সব জায়গায় পাওয়া যেত না, পাওয়া যেত না, বাংলাদেশ থেকে চুরি করে নিতে or something like that. এরকম করে লুকাই নিতে হতো. What is this? Yeah, habibi, what is this thing? It's an instrument. No, throw it away. So ওটার পর থেকে রিদম জিনিসটা still মাথায় আসছে, because I knew যে হাত দিয়ে এটা করতে হয়. এই বদভ্যাসটা আমার জীবনও যায়নি. If you ever meet me, you'll see my hand on a very like a wooden I'll always do that. Yeah. And I mean, it's my tick, অনেকে বলে না, I keep doing that. আমার ক্লাস থেকে বেরও করে দিচ্ছে অনেক সময়. And teacher would go like, hey, তুমি তো একটা ড্রামার হওয়ার কথা, তুমি কি হইলে? That poor teacher who actually said that, like, বুড়ো হয়ে গেছে, and she met me like 10 years ago, like, হাত দিয়ে তো না, মুখ দিয়ে কর্ম চলে. She passed away sadly. And out of all the teachers, আমাকে অনেক সাপোর্ট, ক্লাস থেকে বের করে দিত, আবার ডেকে বলতো ভালো কাজ করতেছ. So beatboxing was what my dad was surrounded. We were surrounded by a lot of multilingual people. এই শুক্রবার গজল হইতো, তো সেই শুক্রবার একটু পপ কিছু হইতো. In the Middle East, yes, underground concerts বাংলাদেশে যেমন, ওখানে underground concerts different হইছে. তো beatboxing টা হলো কি, wasn't something that popped into my life, যে hey, beatboxing এরকম কিছু না. I would do a lot of like মুখ দিয়ে stuff, and as icky as it sounds, saliva, don't get all cringe and whatever, was my first percussive sound thing that I would utilize to make beats in my head. Because when I do the sound, which you can't hear much, but an example would be, that is basically the scratch, right? But I would do that, no one else would understand, because that is kind of coming here.
Internal sound.
Yeah, if I'm like right behind you, I'm like, you can't hear that. But for me, I'm like, in my mind. Like, I'm having a DJ party in my mind. So, ছোটবেলায় এগুলো সবসময় চলতো. And 3 individuals influenced me. I've never met them, sadly. One person is Michael Winslow, because my dad used to bring from his Filipino friends, Police Academy. If you search it on YouTube, you can find him. His name is Michael Winslow. And obviously, as kids, you would be very fascinated with sounds, like, woo, woo, and stuff like that. You're literally beatboxing, because you just don't know it. Like, hey, those guys screech. You actually did a beat, right? If you just did it in rhythm, would have been something like that. So, এটা Michael Winslow করতো, not as music, but he used to create sounds around it. And that wasn't just part of an act. He's actually known as the individual with 10,000 sounds. Bring him in the room and just drop him like this. He'll ask you to close your eyes, and he'll make you feel like you're in Antarctica or underwater or something. You'll be like, wait, you're making this sound? Whoa. So that's Michael Winslow. So that was the first thing I got. And just when that happened, there was this Filipino friend of my father's, a colleague, who would bring an origami frog for me, বাসায়. প্রতি 2 সপ্তাহ পর আসতো, and briefcase খুলে একটা origami একটা frog বসে দিয়ে, he would like press the back of the frog, it would jump, because that's how amazing origami is. And he would hum a tune. He would go like, don't worry, be happy. So that's Bobby McFerrin's track. And I asked him, what do you sing? Then he took out his cassette player and he played it to me. That's when I got to know Bobby McFerrin. If you ever find him, he does a lot of stuff stuff like that. So I would do a lot of that because I had the tabla, thing in my mind. And the third person, Michael Jackson, King of Pop. Because of those two individuals, I would tell my friends like, Michael Jackson, he makes sounds with his mouth. And everyone's like, hey, of course he does, he, and stuff. I'm like, no. No one would believe me until the emergence of internet. And I'm like, haha! Michael Jackson used to beatbox in most of his songs. So like Billie Jean Bolo, Who Is It Bolo, Stranger in Moscow. Even if you check it, you probably heard it, you don't know. He goes, then he would like to tweak, record, put beats in. And that's how it started. And the fourth surprise entry was Justin Timberlake. Because we used to listen to a lot of, I was more of a pop fan, but NSYNC came into the scene. And I used to listen to Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, and Five, a band not many people used to listen to back then. And most of NSYNC's song was beatboxing. But I did not know the word beatboxing. That never existed in my life. So the beatboxer in me was there, but I just didn't know what I was doing. I just knew I was doing what Justin seems to be doing. Until a CD came in. These are like parts and parts of stories. Madison Square Garden NSYNC perform করতেছে বাংলাদেশের দোকানে ঢুকে দেখি dust collector CD পড়ে আছে. I said, give it to me. And I bought it. And one part of the CD, Justin comes on stage. He goes like, prepare yourself for the human beatbox. The ficky. I'm like, hey, to paisi shalare. School niye gesi. See. They're like, hey, bucci. Oh, wow. Okay, he is beatboxing. That's what Michael Jackson does. That's what you've been telling me for 8 years. Oh, you win. Wow. Oh, that's it. Oh, that sucks.
That was fairly easy.
Yeah, 8 years I waited to prove this, and the person was like, you win? Okay. Anyway, so that's how beatboxing started. But this is the thing. Thankfully, my friends didn't laugh and like, hey, mukh ki awaaz karo. Nowadays, it's way more negative than it was back in the 90s. Bullying was different. It wasn't like that. Thankfully, they were very supportive. But right now, I mukh diye ki kortosos, And we proudly say, I don't know if you can see it properly. I'll show it here, then I'll show it here as well. It says mukh diye DJ kori. So if someone goes like, "I mukh diye ki kortoso," you proudly say mukh diye DJ kori. It's beatboxing, So that's part of something that Hanex brought out. He made this name mukh diye DJ kori. But for 8 to 9 years, I did not see. No, sorry. Since I knew the vocal percussion existence from before I knew the word beatboxing and after. Until 2008, I did not know of any other beatboxer around or in the world except for Justin Timberlake and a few of them, and Kenny Muhammad and a lot of beatboxers outside. But I'm until later on. So the beatboxer, this guy, did not exist as a beatboxer entirely because it would just be me. So I didn't have anyone to connect with. So what I started doing was, even though I learned guitar and other stuff, and I was in a metal band, I was in a blues band, onek experiment korchi. And once I would put my personality in the band, I would go like, so there's this thing I do, beatboxing. Can I just like, oh. And the bands would experiment with it. And I've done that with a hell lot of bands. I started, like I was in a band called Act of Defiance. We were joking around and we covered Rafa's version of Mila's Shundari Kamala. Like, Hajar Dorshuk Monomataya, if you ever heard that song. So Rafa made a Hajar Dorshuk version of it. So we would start the song with a so the crowd would be ready to, bang their head. Suddenly they hear something from a person's mouth. So that's how beatboxing became something out of the hip hop side for me. And and so on and so forth, goes on and on. Until 2014, this beatboxing experimentation was like all over with all genres. But Bangladesh being Bangladesh, unless it's like a famous face, they don't know what you're doing. If you're like a famous person, not everyone, for like a khum naam kora chele, umuker chele jodi hao, hey, umuker chele mukh diye ekta awaz kore thake, chalo ittadite tomake niye jay. But for me, it wasn't like that. Even though my dad and my mom, they were from the circle that became some of the greatest musicians in the country, and I would have been like, I'm a bap chinos. I never did that. Until like 4 or 5 years later, this uncle or chacha or this bhaiya I met, like, you umukir chele? Why didn't you tell me? I'm like, ki korte na mare? Grammy Award dite. Exactly, I have to be who I am myself, Apni umukir chele mukh diye awaz kortechen ken? Apnar bap to korto na. What? Well, you know me because of that. You didn't even know me before that, so whatever. Anyways, point is, 2014 I coordinated with a bunch of amazing people. Our school junior chilo, DJ Raf and Jasper, if you know him. If you don't, you can just check him out later. He would have been one of the greatest producers, but sadly he just stopped doing music, producing. We dropped the first mixed hip-hop album called Kata Tere Bera, and that had the first beatbox recording in the country. And I mean, even 10 years later after that 4 years later after that beatboxing recording arekta beroyse, but since then no one knew. But Bangladeshe to tokhon CD copy kore unknown artist unknown track korto, so no one knew who did it. They just knew the key tick tick tuk tuk awaz ashche. Even now people don't know. Fast forward all the way to 2014. Mind you, I started 94. 20 years later, I actually found proper beatboxers. Beatboxer lagse. So imagine I'm in Mars and I'm beatboxing to myself until this alien goes like, ooh, I'm like, oh, you're beatboxing. There's a scene for Will Smith in Men in Black where there's an alien inside a body of someone in the film, and he goes, and the person communicates with them. I'll share that video with you. That's when I met Hanix and my world opened up. And I'm like, there's so much we could do. Because I would infuse beatboxing in other genres, but hey, you forgot. You can look and find the beatboxers and bring them out and have them do things or give them the platform that you wish you had 20 years ago. You know, Hanix brought in that passion. I have to give, I think he's one of the greatest, I would say, collaborations with the আমার লাইফের biggest blessing would be this guy, one of the biggest blessings. And you know, I got more confidence. যে তুমি জানো সাইকোলজি জিনিসটা আসছে এখনকার ব্যাপারটা হচ্ছে যে, for example, I can see that behind you,
pull up bar.
Pull up bar. You're frustrated. You're very frustrated. What do? You watch a video, you watch movie. When I'm frustrated, I do two things. I either watch a lot of animes or I suddenly put into heavy music and go, just shoot the thing. I'm like, screw the world. But you know, you want to do something, you'll be like, hey, I'll focus on myself. Why do you have to keep thinking negative? Then you would start probably do the pull-ups or something. It depends how you focus. Bangladesh, a communication gap stopped a lot of talents from coming out. It still does. And beatboxing, even now, is so much, it's an alien thing. We have faced parents, they're like, yeah, astaghfirullah, it's against religion and stuff like that. But it says nothing about this anywhere. So we have to talk with parents to make them understand. It's not going to make your son's throat bleed and stuff come out, you know. Thanks to a lot of beatboxers, they did research. So my origin story is huge. I mean, actually short bolsi. Then coming to the whole discovering yourself part, it is as easy now as it is difficult. The easy part is you got internet, you know. Someone is probably, when they watch this, they're like, oh, I didn't know that. For us back then, আমার জন্য একটাই বই for 5 years was entertainment because I love a lot of history. আমাকে একটা বাংলা encyclopedia দিছিল 94 একটা আন্টি। ওই বইটা আমি 7 বছর ধরে মুখস্থ করে পড়ছি। হরেশিও নেলসন, তারপর গ্যালিলিও গ্যালিলি কে কি করছে মুখস্থ থাকতো। So nowadays, as much as you can learn, যত শিখছো আবার নেগেটিভ আসলে কি মানুষ এখনো তোমাকে কোশ্চেন করে কি করতেছো দিয়ে। So and so on and so forth. মানুষ actually talent বের হয়ে আসে না because everyone thinks they know everything, but you just don't research properly. And I could go on and on about this. That depends on the question. Oh, sorry, I answered a huge answer. Please, you're like bored.
It's actually interesting. Karon thing is, you know how you said je internet thakle, like we have internet and backend তোমাকে inside of দিয়ে দিছিল, and you read that for like 7 years and everything.
I still have it. Yeah.
Damn. আমার একটা incident হয়েছিল, like whenever in the house there's no internet, like internet issues, I'm calling the call center and I'm like, what is happening? And they're like, sir, there's not going to be internet for 2 days because of like some wire construction that was doing by the city corporation or something. So I had a bunch of books, you know, self-productivity books, books gifted to me and everything. Hey, never touched them. Like there have been like, I didn't even know they existed. Like in one corner of my table there were like this bunch of books and I had nothing, like no Instagram, no Facebook, no Chrome, no YouTube, nothing, no source of entertainment. I was like, you know what, let's just read them, let's just give it a chance. And I still have that book. Let me show you. this book.
Dude! Wait. Which one's this?
The Book Thief.
Oh yeah, there's a movie on it, right?
Yeah,
it's the World War II thing, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing.
This was like 2 days of absence of internet opened a world of books to me. I was like, man, this shit is actually good. Like teenagers in 2021 are missing out. Like, you know how you watch a video and you use your phone, or watch a movie and you use your phone? You're so distracted. Like movie te ki hoche, you're not like socially aware of it.
Yeah.
But in a book, you cannot use a phone and read a book because it's like you're gonna forget the story.
Exactly. Right.
So you have to give 100, like full commitment. It's like that one girlfriend who's like, you're in or you're out. So like, so you have to read the whole thing. And then I discovered, you know why a big thing why people say that reading book increases focus and everything?
Mm-hmm.
Because we live in this generation, jekhane especially our generation, we cannot focus our attention into one thing.
We're distracted
so
easily.
Exactly. If you can see in my background, there's a pull-up bar, there's a TV, there's a paint, so many things. Right. I'm giving a pull-up bar, notification pops up. I'm already 20 minutes into using my phone, and I'm like,
and you probably did like one. That's it.
Exactly. You know that one Instagram story, you're like, oh, working out today, very fit. So all of these things, it's like that. That's why I could relate. I was like, man, this dude is legit. Like I was like, oh wow, like yeah.
Man, it just reminded me of. Oh man, out of many chapters of the whole whatever journey. Since then and now journey. একটা আমি খুব চেরিশ করি was I feel sad that আমার হয়নি, but recently, like I said, there's একটা মানুষের জন্য আমি গেছিলাম বই মেলায়. That was অন্তিক মাহমুদ actually, because অনেক বই বের করতেছে. I didn't feel it was অন্তিকের বইটা আমি কিনতে গেছি, and I read it. Whatever the story was, the fact is এই ছেলেটা নিজে এঁকে করছে. So going back 96. So আমার বাবা মা মানে আমি যেখানে থাকতাম, I studied in Bangla medium school, then an Indian school, then an English medium of a Bangla hierarchy. Not like man, O-level, A-level, IGCSEs দিয়েছিলাম. And বই পড়তাম অনেক. So Bangla English সব পড়তাম, সত্যজিৎ রায় থেকে শুরু করে সবকিছু, Hardy Boys. I even read Nancy Drew's Sweet Valley Twins, Sweet Valley High, I forgot. I didn't care. Doesn't matter gender, genre. আমি পড়তাম. Sidney Sheldon পড়তাম, অনেক কিছু পড়তাম. And I was a huge fan of this writer called K.A. Applegate. K.A. Applegate, if you can check him out. I just forgot. It's a woman. Yeah, it's a woman. What the hell?
Come on, Applegate. Come on, that's kind of...
How can I would always sing stories of K.A. Applegate. You should check it. Anyways, so she, please forgive me, wrote series of books a series called The Animorphs, Animal Morph, and I was hooked. It's like now people will be like, Attack on Titan, they see, oh my god, so cool. So I was the only person. Oh, I do watch Attack on Titan, by the way. Nice. But এটার বাইরে কিন্তু আরো 20টা অ্যানিমে আছে, সব দেখা যেতে পারে. So আমি খুঁজে বের করে দেখি, like Terrors in Resonance by Mappa যারা করতেছে, তারপর কি Arsul and Senki দেখলাম কয়দিন আগে, it was very late. Kingdom. Anyways, I'm a history buff, like I said, that's why historical stuff. So going back to at the Animorphs, basically হচ্ছে 5টা characters যারা এই what am I doing? Part of the interesting part of the book was when you buy the book, it will be 120-40 pages. Goosebumps ওই সময় অনেক চলতো. If you heard of Goosebumps, probably did. Yeah, you should. That should be someone everyone knows. So when you flip the book, it starts from a human turning into an animal. There was like a flip book, but the book wasn't a flip book. It just had that extra bit, and I was like, oh wow, so what's Jake turning into? A lizard. Whoa, lizard, human, lizard. Hey, check this out. Like, what a kid. I'm like, yeah, of course, I'm 13. Anyway, so the best part about Animorphs would be I've never said this, not that I'm gonna go all out about this, but a portion of my life, I'm sure a lot of people who are watching this has gone through it or still goes through it, and nothing to be ashamed about. Had an imaginary world, just like when you read The Book Thief, if you had watched the movie and read the book, it would be rather that you read the book first, then the movie, if you want to watch the movie, or just don't watch it at all. So the Animorphs.
Take here. I feel like when you read a book, when you watch the all the
You're
times
directing
I've
the
watched
entire story.
yeah, I'm like when I read this huge book and the movie is like 2 hours. I bang my head in the wall. I'm like, no, there's so many things that missed out. This wasn't fair. I was like, no man, I cannot.
Nah.
That's why you see manga readers complaining about anime all the time. They're like, no, there's so many things missed out. They're like, you watch anime? Like, why are you reading manga, dude? And I'm like, so that's I get the point. Like, you know why like book readers are always so disappointed when the movie comes out? They're like whining about it. That like, and I felt them. I was like the book thief here, Jay. If you compare the book and the movie, the book is a 10 out of 10, but the movie is like 2.
Why did you like the book, by the way? Because of the period thing or the relation?
No. It was like the character building, because
character building. Yeah, that's good.
You know how this little kid who like the main character liked, and he was like always supportive. Like, that guy had so much character building in the movie, like in the book.
In the book, exactly.
It like there wasn't any scene of that guy like in the movie, like particularly.
Right.
There was so much bullying. There were so many like things that he used to do. Like he painted his whole body like with black paint and used to run across and get beaten, and so many incidents, right? So many hallucinations and so many things that happened in the book that wasn't in the movie. And there were some particular scenes that seemed in my imagination because I watch anime a lot.
Right.
So a normal person's imagination is like here, mine's here. Like if you talk about like a guy walking in chains, I feel like, you know those God of War scenes where they're like huge chains, they're like carrying and, you know, going very cinematic, very legendary and stuff.
Yeah.
So I thought the scene would be way more cinematic. In the movie, it's like, you know, like those Netflix adaptations they used to do of anime. So disappointing. It's like that.
There is one adaptation, the series they made recently. I'm surprised I didn't know that there was a manga of it. I just forgot. It's the one where you get sucked into this world. Typical.
ReZero.
No, not that one. I still have to watch the second season, by the way. I stopped because I want to finish the entire a guy and 2 of his friends in Tokyo, and suddenly you are handed the cards. I forgot the name. Alice in not Alice in Chains. No, that's a band. Alice in Something Land. Oh, you should check it out.
I think I've heard it. I think.
You should watch it, bro. Deiko, you should watch it. You'll be like, but there is a lot of change in the manga, obviously. But to watch it, I was blown away. I think this is one of the best recent adaptations. But going back to the thing, that quick thing. If you can read the animals, please do. কয়েকদিন আগে আমার একটা ফ্রেন্ডের বউয়ের বোন suddenly put up I have a lot of animorphs, I'm giving it away. I'm like, yes. And I was the only person who commented there. I'm like,
oh my god,
anyone else? Animorphs fan, please. So I said, it's free, right? She's giving it away. I'm like, give it to me. And আমার 10টা বই ছিল না, 10টা বই পাইছি after 15 years now. 22 years, and it's right there. I'm like, I wish I could show you the flip. It's under the bed right now. It's so amazing. That's why I'm being okay right now. But the best part of the anime is there's a thing called thought speech. The aliens, there are aliens there called the Andalites, who they don't have a mouth. I wish a lot of Bangladeshis or people who talk shit don't have a mouth. Like that. And they speak thought speech ক্ষেত্রে. The thought speaking হয় ওদের মধ্যে. They don't something. Yeah, so they don't eat with their mouth, they eat with their hooves. They're like a horse and they have 7 fingers on both hands. Anyways, when you read the story, it'll make sense to you. It won't. The interesting part is, obviously, just like how I found beatboxers later, and I'm like, yeah, that's how it was. It wasn't like, you beatbox? I beatbox too. It was more like, no one was, and we were so happy, and everyone was like, what are they doing? What's that language? So when I read the book, Bangladesh Ashlam, and obviously no one read the book. I'm like, goosebumps for what is animal stuff? I worked in Radio Furti in 2009. Right before that, like you have Facebook groups, we had forums back then. Forums echono ache, but forums was যেখানে আমরা এখন তখন a lot of, even James Bhai himself was in the forum, and James uncle actually for me, sorry, I'm so used to saying whatever. সবাই ওখানে লিখতো and stuff like that. So there was one guy, he wrote, and I don't know why, he wrote এই যে কি বলে bracket একটা আছে না এরকম, I keep forgetting the bracket. It looks like arrows.
Yeah, I get it. It's like a mouth.
Not this. Exactly. So you have this bracket, then you have the square brackets, then you have the triangle bracket, whatever they are. So the thought speech writing wouldn't start like hi, kemon acho tumi Salman. It would be like, it starts with that bracket, hi, kemon acho tumi Salman. And there's a way of speaking. So the guy wrote his thought that way, and I'm like, Animorphs fan. And since then, whenever I met the guy, we would never speak. We would be like, he would be like, and after 10 minutes, like, I didn't get shit what you said. Like, you probably meant you wanted burger. I'm like, no. So amader jon Facebook e chat hoy, we would just write like that, and we would speak like that. So when I visited Earth, I had burger, and in other words, it means basically burger khete jete jao. But we would live in that imaginary world. It's the most amazing thing ever, man. It's the most amazing thing ever. Same for beatboxers, by the way. You beatbox, you know the language. You're in a different world, bro. Wow. Sorry, it just went so back in time. And so
it's good. It's like I honestly I think one of the points I was a bit worried about was, you know how you, like a few minutes ago you said like I'm just bored. There are some times I am a person who like interrupts a lot. Okay. When I'm genuinely not a bit interested in someone, I'm not if you watch my podcast, any other episodes, I'm always like interrupting. I'm like hyper, like, you know, like question and question, like, but then there are like a few individuals, the whole journey you had, and especially, you know, I didn't expect you to be someone I could relate to, you know, with how all the anime imagination and everything, you know, I was a bit shocked. I was like, damn, like, you know, that point when you're like, you know, you're just listening, you're like, fuck everything. Like, you know, it was like that moment for me.
Did you say anime?
Yeah, exactly. I was like,
oh, you got my attention, man of culture.
And even like Bangladesh bolam na, even in like even here, or many people, like I guess even in my age, people are not into anime. And the thing is, I'm good if you're not into anime, but
if you're not into it, you're not into it. It doesn't matter.
But they come out of their way to criticize it, and I'm just like, you know, it's just this thing. And thing is, I honestly believe like there are like anime. I feel like it's just the people who aren't watching it, or the people who are not into it, just missing it. Like, I feel like one of the greatest writings and the stories, like, it's so mind blowing, man. Like,
without a doubt, Akira. Look, go back. And something that broke me, man. Grave of the Fireflies.
Oh my god.
আমি দেখতেছি, আমি চোখ থেকে পানি পড়তেছে, and my friends like, oh, what's wrong? If you don't watch this, there's a live action version of it. You can watch it. It'll kill you, vibe. Just watch this. The sister, just bro.
Like even like I was like the part that terrified me the most. I don't know if you remember this scene, but when I watched it, I was pretty like in class 5 or something, way back. So there was a scene where the mom died and she was wrapped in bandages and there were like maggots coming out. I was like, oh my god.
It's not Tom and Jerry, ladies and gentlemen. And anime doesn't mean cartoon, bro. My god.
And the most interesting thing is, shout out to one of the most favorite teachers of mine, Rabbi sir. He is that one person, an adult, whom I could relate to in this thing. There were some times Sarah's class was genuinely not interesting. I was like, fuck this shit. But out of respect, out of that respect, you know, how he could relate, how he, you know, I went to Toy-Con with him. He had like these figures, like chibi figures and everything of many anime characters and many Marvel characters and stuff. And he went into radio to talk about these things, his collection and everything. He's an enthusiast. And
CFA, is he part of CFAB? Collectors Federation and whatever, something.
I think so. So anyways, Rabbi sir was, you know, when you mess up and you genuinely don't feel like, hur teacher ki bolte se guy lage na. You know that thing?
Right.
Like when Rabbi sir said something to me, there was this one line. আমি ক্লাসে না আসলে তোমরা মনে হয় হেগে দিবা, এত খারাপ তোমরা, হ্যাঁ। So, and this was the one day Rabbi sir probably had some work, so he couldn't attend, মানে কালকের ক্লাসটা করতে পারবে না। So my friends were like, fuck it, he's not here today, let's go ham, let's actually egge day, you know. And I was like, no man, I cannot disappoint him like this. I want to prove him wrong. We're good, sir, give us a
Hold
chance.
Hold that shit back.
Exactly. Shove that back.
Yeah.
So
then he comes into the class and goes like, you guys look constipated. No, it's our love for you, sir.
Yes. So it was like these connections that the teacher connected with, like the things he used to say. When there was this one time I sort of like bunked a class or something, and went down, and he went searching for me. Out of all the teachers that could have looked for me, he was the one. I felt so bad. There were like 3 guys. It was like a niche ekta program hotchilo je probably like a show or something. We weren't in there. We weren't into dancing. We just said we are into dancing. We're going down to practice. So like, yeah, he just realized that I'm not in the list. He went down to look for me. I was hiding in the bathroom, and then when I came out, he saw me and was like, he did not scream at me. He did not say anything. He just gave me a look, and
But that spoke a lot.
Like, yeah, and after school when he said, "Tomar sathe kotha ache," I wish amake boka dile I would have been happy. I would have felt punished for it.
That spoke volumes. I can understand.
Yeah, like he just looked at me.
It showed disappointment to an extent.
He said to the other guys, "You shit. You're a piece of trash. Fuck you." But like, and then he came to me, like, obviously he didn't say it like that, but he came to me and he was like, "I'm just disappointed, Salman." And I was like, "Fuck, that hurt." Like that like, you know, I think
the Bollywood music playing in the background.
Yeah, exactly.
Nani.
Next day, my classmates are like, and I'm like, bro,
they don't get it.
Like they don't get it how intense that scene was, because I went to so many places. Like imagine I always think
arekbar bolle ami dragons boltam, but
so like I think things in a perspective way. Like when my parents are dealing with me or they're being rude, I think if I'm the parent, if my child was behaving like this, how would I react? And I'm like, okay, that's fine. So I saw it in a teacher's perspective. I like a student. He came up to me. We went into like a toy con. I talked with him, very friendly. The next day he fucks up in school, and I'm getting scolded by the admin because my student fucked up. And I'm like, I wouldn't scold him. I'd just be like, I thought you were different. I just say that. So
you were better.
Yeah. And like, man, it was like that moment and everything. It was like,
oh man,
shit. So it's like when I see these people who, like, for example, like you, people who, you know, have similar mindsets, similar topic, and I am personally a person who likes to work on my passion. I'm very afraid of, what do you say? You know, not into that corporate lifestyle, 9 to 5 up till 60 years, and then I'm in my deathbed and my kid is like, Dad, I can't take care of you. You're like shitting all over the bed. My wife ain't gonna take care of you. Fuck you. You know, that scene just kind of depresses me. I'm like, man,
without it,
you know, and that's why I just want to be like, you know what? Even if I live 30 years and then I die because of some reason, I'd go for that. I'd have a more amusing life. You know, do what I like to do. I am sort of this person who likes to talk a lot, share experiences, meet a lot of people. Right? I am like the person who has a slow start. Like, hi bolte pari na. Like, I'm like, oh, hi bolbo, you know, ki bolbe. But then when the conversation starts,
you're like, shit, where's the break?
Yeah, exactly.
Bro.
Exactly. Like, and the passenger is like, shit, when is this roller coaster gonna stop? Like, you know? So, it's like,
yeah.
It's like I love to talk, so that's how this podcast began.
It's a good thing.
Yeah, and also I'm into fitness, but then I'm into anime. Many of my friends are like, you realize those two genres don't go together? Like, you're supposed to be like a bodybuilder guy.
Doesn't really matter.
You're like not an anime, you're not supposed to be a weeb, and I'm like, okay. Okay. Like,
man, okay, wait. তুমি একটু আগে যেটা বললে রিগার্ডিং রাব্বি স্যার, your রাব্বি স্যার, And right now, just reminding me of two stories, if you don't mind me. I interrupted. I apologize.
Yeah, go on.
Going back to the disappointment factor, I kept remembering her face, and it just, আমার খুব একটা কি বলবো, I absolutely miss that person. I'm not joking. I'm just খারাপ লাগছে. She was the English teacher. I absolutely loved her. Her son was a dirt bike champ in Middle East. Found out later, like এত awesome কিছু ছেলে মেয়ে আছে না. Miss Jean Stephens. আমি ফাইজলামে করে Jean Stephens এরকম করে বলতাম আর কি. And she would speak like she would almost speak like Marge from The Simpsons. Homer! Not like that entirely, but she had that voice. But she was absolutely amazing. So পুরা ক্লাসের মধ্যে আমার কিছু, and আমার friendsরা, they were great, but she wouldn't say like তোমার মতো আমি এটা দেখছি তুমি ফিউচারে এটা করতে পারবো. Oh my god, you have to, এরকম কিছু না. সে বয়স্ক ছিল, and if she was alive right now she would have been 90, something like that, I guess. But, yeah. She would be like, I believe you're destined for big things. And there are times if I feel like I've like screwed up, besides my parents, I think of her. Like, what would she look at? And I know she would do either of two things, like Rabbi sir did in your case, was, it's okay, Shanta, it's fine, just get up. Or the other would be like, and a that face, and when you mentioned that finger, I remember, I'm Shubodh Balok ekdom chilam tao na. আমি ক্লাস বাঙ্ক না, আমরা ভলিবল খেলতাম, লাইক প্রকাশ্যভাবে ভলিবল খেলতাম. দিস ইজ আওয়ার ক্লাস. জানলা খুললে আমাদেরকে দেখতে পারবেন. We were like, hey, pass it, and like হায়াকুর মতন, like 14 episodes later, stuff like that. And প্রিন্সিপাল দৌড়াইতো, yes, পিছনে চিল্লাইতো, আমরা সব ভলিবল ফেলাই দৌড়. But তখন তো আর মোবাইল নিয়ে কেউ বলতে পারতো না, হ্যাঁ তোমাকে তো ভিডিও করছি দেখছিলাম ইউ প্লেইং. Thankfully no one knew who would play. এত চিল্লাচিল্লি কোন ক্লাস খেলতেছে কেউ জানতো না. But one day, even though she knows, and she's like, আমি তোমাকে indirectly বলতেছি, তোমাদেরকে ধরলে তোমাদের প্রবলেম আছে. So she just pops up from the side and you see this face. And I'm the first one to look at her. I'm like, hey guys, so pass the...
Oh, shit.
And she just looks at me, and she's British. At a white skin fair, একটা মহিলা. এখান থেকে লাল হয়ে আছে. মানে, I'm like, and সবাই মনে করতো আমি টিচার্স পেট ছিলাম, because I absolutely adored her. So মানে আমি উনাকে দেখে আমার পেটের মধ্যে করা শুরু করছে. I'm like, and the ball went poof, the ball went poof on my face. And I think, hey, গালি দিচ্ছে, তুমি ধরতে পারিস না কেন, Mrs. Jean? They're like, oh snap. And তোমার সাথে যে ঘটনা ঘটছে সবাইকে ছাড়ছে. And I've never seen her pissed. But she was like, whatever. And to me, আমি বাসায় ঘুমাইতে পারি না, আমি কাঁদতেছিলাম. Like ওই যে অ্যানিমে সিনেমাতে কালো একটা মেঘ চলে আসছে যে, version 1 or version 2 is like, in Hindi movie, shower নিচে like, my life's there. পরের দিন আমি মাথা এরকম করে নিচু করে, I had hair thankfully, মাথা নিচু করে, I'm like, ma'am, I'm sorry. She's like, it's fine. And then I ended up the joke with putting a whoopee cushion on her.
Oh my god, man. Shit.
But she's so amazing. She sat down and she's like, Muqtadir! And like slow motion ending to a series episode. Like, in Japanese, like, Shum Kai Shawala, whatever. And I'm like, I'll get you! And freeze moment. That's how it was. And what was the other incident? Last stage, the weep part. Oh, that part. So, yeah. I went to the recent... this was 2019? No, 2018. There was a K-pop fest at Tokyo something.
Tokyo Square. It's right around my house.
K-pop Tokyo. So, you're Japan Garden City, I'm guessing.
Yeah, like, no. Like, same road.
Same road. So, I went there, and I'm sure... two of either things happened. So anyone watching who's been there, please try to understand. Don't misunderstand. Uncle আসছে ঠিক আছে, because obviously আমার এরকম ছিল, I wasn't all shaved. The moment I shaved, suddenly to people I'm 27 or 26, I'm like, okay. I've heard people guess what my age. I don't even know. It's evident I'm something. I'm not going to tell my age on this podcast. So I'm like, Uncle Ashton, probably. And there was the girl I was dating, and Pasha Chila, okay, they can say, daughter, no. The girlfriend. Because I was holding her. So
okay.
I could see faces, and they're all 16, 14-year-old kids. So the second one would have been something I don't want to mention. They were like, oh, this is weird. There's this old tacky dude. And suddenly, this little girl comes up, and was it Dope by BTS? I can't remember the song. And I knew the dance. Obviously, I can't dance. And I'm jani je, so I just did this and this with my hand. Because all the kids, they were in sync. And I was like, whoa. This is an interesting fan base. Yeah, there are weird stuff here and there, but they were so synced. No matter where you're looking, they're dancing perfectly. And I do this. And suddenly one section of the little kids, they're like, I'm sure Kane bolte say, that is a weirdo. Or half is like, wow, uncle knows K-pop.
Yeah, that's like most of the reaction. Like they don't, when you find adults or anyone like you can resonate with, they're like, wow, like it just opens up like 50% of your brain. Like you're like, yeah, I can talk to this guy.
Yeah.
I can talk. So
বিয়েতে গিয়ে আমি ছবিতে সবাই এরকম করতেছে আমি এরকম করছি I did this and what's it's all right, you could do this, I just did this. হঠাৎ করে কতগুলো কয়টা ছেলে আসবে, they came running, ভাইয়া কে, I'm like, whoa, what did I do? Oh, this, okay, yeah.
Oh my god, yeah, their K-pop fan base is so loyal, like, yeah.
What's your bias? I'm like, what's a bias? Whatever. Like, then I realized it's who are you a fan of? Anyways, wow. Sorry, I jumped into something. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, it's like, like how you, out of all of these experiences, the most interesting question I would say is that how did Battlebox BD start? Like, what was like the beginning? Like, Karan hosting such a big tournament. I saw the trailers and everything. It was very hyped. It was like people were, it was so, what do I say? It was like it opened up a new thought chain.
So, what is your impression of it? I'm curious. But what is your honest impression? Like, what did you think? Whatever you saw, related to this. Then I'll answer your question.
I felt the one thing that I'll say is, I feel like in Bangladesh, us teenagers don't exactly have, how in the US or in the UK, students like go together to enjoy a show or a concert or, something like that.
An event, something.
Yeah, an event. So in Bangladesh, if it's not like something folk related, charat, you don't have much options. You
like a festish.
Yeah, thing. Exactly. Yeah. You don't have much options, Arki. So, like, Battlebox BD was sort of like a
fresh outlook.
Yeah, a fresh start. It's like something that you can get into. It was like, it had like energetic people. There was a vibe. There was an energy. It was something that, even if you're not very curious about beatbox, the energy, the surrounding, the enthusiasm will like make you ask, man, I can actually get into this,
Yeah.
And I've had friends who are really into beatbox. Like, they can make like 3-4 sounds together in the class. When someone has a birthday and birthday, instead of singing, like someone sings the happy birthday song and they like do this thing, like they beatbox and stuff, and like happy birthday and stuff, like and when they talk about like, bro, have you checked this out? And then when you like search it up and stuff, like most of the people don't talk about it, but those who do, they do. And it was like a nightclub experience, but cleaner. Something that was
nightclub. Interesting.
I mean, you get
very good point. Dude, wow.
you get to have fun. You go as a group. So it was like a club. A better way.
It's like the sober version of that.
Exactly.
More lights and more.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, it can go both ways, you never know.
Yeah, but you're absolute. That's an interesting way of putting it. And going back to your question, then I'll lead into this. Is I would love for someone else to host it. And ব্যাপারটা আমি আর Hanex, Ronesh, we both actually hosted the first one. And we were obviously thinking যে আমরা কিভাবে এটা কেমনে হোস্ট করে কিরকম একটা আনবো. And if you look at, you can search, you plus anyone else who's watching this, is Grand Beatbox Battle. There's a guy called Scott Jackson. He's a Canadian beatboxer. And he has this, like, this summer way of talking to the audience. I said the 3, you said a 2 and 1. 3, 2, 1, beatbox. I'm like, whoa, what a presentation. I'm like, oh, energy pipe. And we would love that. And thankfully, I've had experience, not only organizing, but hosting events. So my thing would be to directly talk to the audience. Scott Jackson is his own style. So what I did was I tried to see what he did beatboxing wise. Then I realized, like you mentioned, the nightclub thing was he does the same thing I do, interact with the audience. And if you watch any of the video, well, not all the videos have that interaction in most of it, because battle to interaction diye dekhachhe na, pura battle ta dekhe shudhu. I would be like, so ami ki bolchi tumi ki bolbe, do the boots, cats and stuff like that. And they were like, whoa, so you just beatboxed. There is a portion in the battle in 2019. I'm like, you guys, this is the biggest beatbox compilation in the history of Bangladesh. I could count 3,000 people beatbox together. And we're like, oh, wow, we beatboxed? You know, so এরকম করে hosting করা হইতো and stuff like that, bringing all the stuff for beatboxing. What we wanted to do through hosting was for people to understand you could do it too, you know? And এটাই ব্যাপার ছিল, because বাংলাদেশে কিন্তু ভালো ভালো হোস্ট আছে. But as you mentioned, when you go to a concert, বাংলাদেশে তো, it's true, অনেক কিছু করার নাই, আবার অনেক কিছু করা আছে depending on what your poison is. You know, if you like unplugged stuff, like এই 10 তারিখে একটা event আছে, ওখানে mix stuff. So you could be the one chill, relax, and they're like, oh, I like a bit of indie, you know, like Pragata, for example, amazing singer. You'd be like, okay, I want to listen to something laid back. And suddenly you notice like a different persona of Pragata in Hades. And she goes, no. I'm like, whoa. So you have 2 different shows, right? So beatboxing, that's where the host energy came in. The beatboxing thing is, it's not like, oh, I'm going to see a guy get up with the guitar. Wait, he's doing the entire thing with his mouth. And he's singing. And he's doing a beat, and he's making the crowd move, and he's jumping, and he's breathing. How is that possible? You know, so the host has to come and make the people go like, yeah, that's true. Yeah, he did that. So you can do it too. So ওই জিনিসটা আসছে আমাদের hosting it through there. So if you listen to the trailer, it starts with saying যে বাংলাদেশে কিন্তু beatboxers এরকম আছে, বাঘা আপনারা কি জানেন? আপনারাই কিন্তু তাদের মধ্যে একজন. So you make them feel like they're part of it. And when we did that, last 2 battles, like a couple of families came with their kids. Like the kids tried for years to tell their parents, say, "Ami eta kortesi," you know, and they would be like, "Yeah, you know." But these events made the parents come up and go like, "I didn't know there's a platform. I didn't know there are others like him. So can my son join it?" Like, yeah. How old is he? 9. We have a 9-year-old beatboxer. Hey, Ashok. And they start conversing that they're best friends. And the parents are like, wow, this is a thing. Okay. Wow. And through this, we found a beatboxer. Or Baba, Choto Bhai Dujoni ashchilo. And he's one of the best young beatboxers from the scene. His name is Halal. And I was amazed. Yeah, আমরা meditation করাচ্ছিলাম, stuff like that. Or Baba pichone boshe nije meditate korteche amader সাথে. It's one of the greatest experiences ever. And auntie, you know, oneke chilo, because we spoke about biology. I'm sorry, I went away from Battlebox BD. But Battlebox BD hosting ব্যাপারটা হচ্ছে to make people understand, and the way we did it was for them to know this is not just a random event, that we love it as much as we do, and that's how we express it. So if you watch the battles live, you will see when 2 people are, you know, like whether beefing cholteche battle, they go hug it out.
Yeah,
because
like it's like a friendly competition.
Yeah, while I'm battling with you, it's not like, it wasn't like that. It was like, dude, that beat you did, can you teach me? Like, yeah, let's finish this. Let me beat you first. Yeah, that's how it worked. So you get the energy. That's how the hosting became what it became.
I feel like it's such an amazing thing. It really fascinated me because I feel like more people need to know about this. You know, Karon, there is this hide. Like, I've had friends who are so clueless about these things. They're like, you know, especially, you know, the most saddest thing is 16-year-olds, 15-year-olds, 17, 19, 18, 20 even. who are the people who are supposed to be the most into it? I feel
Or
bad
the most
for...
curious. The most
exactly,
curious.
Exactly. I feel like now we're at this position where people like either they go full on wild with everything, like they forget studies, they forget priorities, they're like fuck everything. You know, there should be a mixture, you know, this culture of going out, having a good time, and then studying, good partnership. Right. As you said, Jay, you couldn't find any beatboxer for like 20 years. Podcasting, right? When I started this, there was like locally, I only knew one podcast. It was one of my seniors, Other Side with Raihan Chaudhary. What he basically does is talk with people who have made it and who have the urge to make it, and he just talks about the other side, what were like the struggles and everything. I'm a very talkative person, and one of the key points I have is I kind of want to learn. For example, I want to learn your experiences, advices you would give that I would face in my journey, and I would be like, you know what, this guy was right. Because one shout out to Alvi Bhaiya, he said, you're gonna hate science like when you grow up because it's so much better. I was like, no, science is so interesting. There's so many things. Back then I was like in class 2 or 3, so you know, science was like Earth exists, Mars exists. When I was like, when I introduced like the science just got divided, chemistry, biology, physics. I was like, fuck, this shit is hard. This shit is hard. And then this thing popped up. Science is actually hard. I almost forgot about this guy, but it hit me. It hit me so hard. Like, you know that point in an anime where you're like just sitting and your soul just moves away and you're like, so it was like that scene. And I was like, and coming to where you said, Jay, you know, how after the battle they get, you know, there's a healthy competition. Nowadays, when people don't go all wild and niche out, whether if they get into something like this, competitive, whatever that content creation follow or whatever, I see excess amount of competitiveness, which is toxic. It's a thing.
Competition's good, but I just use that
toxic.
Word, toxic. Yeah.
I believe in competition because I feel like competition raises the bar. For example, I am gonna be very honest about, like with my podcast, right? I have a microphone gear coming in, a lot of things. We're upgrading, we're taking things, because I don't wanna pour all of my money in the first go and have a lot of gear, but don't have the rush to do it. Right.
When I buy the feet fight, buy the shotgun or the opposite.
Exactly.
Something like that. And buy the feet fight, the shotgun.
So it's like you have a Lamborghini, but you can't drive anything. Like you comfort mode থেকে sports mode switch করতে পারতেছো না, তুমি Lamborghini কি drive করবা, right? So and a guy with a Toyota like the Corolla customized করে 120 তে চালাইতেছে, and you can't even put like 70 তে টানতে পারতেছ না Lamborghini. Same
He's
shit.
probably doing wheelies on the side of the car, like exactly. You and your Lamborghini.
So it's like that. So like I make milestones, and when I started it was like one podcast, like দুইজন ছিল, but one of them quit because of studies and problem they had to discontinue. One of my seniors again. So our community is very small. Like I really appreciate you having a podcast, Beats with Baksho. I watched a few episodes a few minutes ago. The presentation was really nice. I
had bigger daddy, so that killed the vibe.
So this community that is starting, I feel like we should all, you know, instead of people don't have this concept of dropping the ego and just being like, you know what, I'm not gonna, you know, be rude to you, and I'm just gonna be like open arms, you know, show me what you got. In the recent times, we have accumulated about 10,000 views, consistent view 1,000. We use that platform that most of our friends and the community uses, Instagram, right? That's our strong point. We don't do it much, but in Instagram, we have an average view of 1,000. When we put out a poll, when we put out a poll, people vote, people comment, people react, people save, people reach out, right? There are many other podcasts. I could mention them. For example, the Dinner Convo. He talks with many foreign people, like people in the US, and he had like a 9-year-old podcaster collaborate with him, and he's so young. He started like, and he collaborated.
He even
with
brought
him.
in 2 of our very well-known beatboxers, Maddox and 2 or 3.
You know them,
I'm a chat person, but I think I forgot what the entire conversation was. But Maddox, Saro, and many people had Rez.
So like Dinner Convo and Other Side with Raihan Chaudhary, the Evening Brew Podcast, and etc. A few of my classmates started like hysteric tapes, and everything. It was like this thing. I had this point, even when I talk to, I'm not very close with my family. So I have one cousin who is a merchant navy. He stays away from the country like 7 to 6 months, not very into these things. So he said one thing. We were listening to John Kabir podcast a few days ago. We went to Jamuna.
Very, very good stuff he's doing.
Exactly. He's such a big influence and he jumped into this platform. I was like, damn, major respect
By the way,
for that.
I have to give a shout out to one guy, and I know, even though, like you mentioned, it's AK Rahul, train wrecker guitarist, and he's done amazing. And ওই কিন্তু একটা podcast করা শুরু করছে where everyone started speaking or their heart out 4 hours, 3 hours, অনেকক্ষণ ধরে. And that's something বাংলাদেশের মানুষের patience থাকে না. Like, এতক্ষণ কথা শুনবো. But podcast is amazing. You can open up, do so much.
Yeah, and like, I see all of these local podcasts, and one thing comes up to my mind. There was this one thing that I'm going to be doing, which is like a post banabo about the rise of Bangladeshi podcasters. Right? So it's gonna have like a post about many podcasters and everything, the people who have started, how many average views, and why you should watch it. That's an interesting note. Like, why should you watch this podcast? Like, might come up in. So shout out to BeatBaksho. One of the reasons why you're here is because like your podcast was included, and we were like, yo, we can have this guy over. So yeah, so it's like this community, if you can bring it up. And you said, you know, 2-3 ঘন্টার podcast কে শুনবে? বাংলাদেশের মানুষের অত patience নাই. That's the thing.
যারা শুনে তারা শুনে. Yeah.
That would be like 20% of the audience you can reach.
Or less.
Well, yeah, true. So the Evening Brew podcast, like my vision is I want to make podcasts a thing. I want to make short
conversation.
Yeah. I want to make short yet explosive podcasts. And how I want to do it is this episode that we're recording is very big. There will be a trailer.
Wow, okay. Yeah.
Right. There will be a trailer. There will be snippets from the trailer. There will be a hype. A hype build-up. Maybe a Q&A session where you remember I asked you 5 minutes, like something, 5 questions or something. So, and we introduce our guest. Right. Who is this guy? Many people might not know you. Many people might not know me. Many people might not even know like James. Like,
yeah, sadly.
Yeah. So, হইতেই পারে. So
I've experienced that with an acapella recently. Like, it's a that's like what? Anyways.
So with Evening Brew podcast, I want to change the perspective of Bengali people into this. A few days ago, I made this video called Dear Bengali People. It was when I
think I saw it. Did I? It's on Instagram.
Yeah, it is. You can check it out after. So basically, when we hit a 10,000 view mark on Instagram, it was about this video about Ornami who had died because of rape, right? It was a very, very sad topic.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I noticed the most in this thing is Bangladeshi people have always come together when there is a conflict. Every time, like independence, language movement, everything, like from like student protests of Novat,
তারপর সাভারের ঘটনাটা, the building ছিল যেটা,
and also like the traffic thingy, the traffic movement of Bangladesh. Yeah. So as Bengali people are very united people, very dildari as many people might say. But then there are also incidents of Rafsan, the Choto Bhai's videos getting mass reported for no reason. When what
the hell was that? Yeah, that was pretty shallow.
I know, and
sadly. Shout out to Rafsan, by the way.
Yeah, he's a great guy, very great guy. He's like one of the people I look up to, who is not very, cool yet, but doesn't pretend to be like that, but he is cool. It's his personality that he puts out. He's a bit hyper, he uses Banglish, many people will be like, I'm tor kotha bujhtesi na. But he is what he is. He likes to do what he does. The growth that he had is incredible. And or video mass report korteche. So, you know how like that kind of hit me. 10,000 views, that's a big number for me. I started 3 months ago with my friend, and it all started ratre bela ami khub bored chilam, caffeine high at night somehow 3টার দিকে. I called him, yo, let's start a podcast. Let's just start a podcast, like golpo kori amra, so just record chap dibo or let's just start it. And 2-3 months into it, we're 10,000 views, and people know me. Like suddenly they knock me. They say, thank you for making this video. Thank you for sharing your perspective.
Nice.
Like, or namina je video ta. And basically, dear Bengali people, I share it. The Bengali content creators should deserve more credit. Karon, why do we get so supportive and dildari when a conflict comes up, but then we never celebrate together? It's a kind of a like thing, কেউ congratulate করতে আগে আসে না, কিন্তু কোনো কিছু হইলে আগে আসে কেন?
I have a quick answer for that. That's thought, and this is my personal thought, by the way. সেটা হচ্ছে congratulations যখন দিতে আসবে তখন personally আসতেছে. Like especially যারা congratulate করবে, there will be few. That those few, not hundreds of them. And এসে তখন বলবে, that was great job, Salman. I love that thing you said because ও সময় নিয়ে ওটা দেখছে. And conflict day, it's a group of people saying the same thing, and they go like, "Oh, you're speaking my mind," but it turns out half of them is out of context. That's the problem. One of the problems, actually.
It was like this thing that I noticed, and I just talked about it. Like I got so emotional because you see this thing. I am probably gonna go away out of the country for public university and stuff and abroad, right? Mm-hmm. And all of my family, everything is sort of here. দুপুর বেলা খারাপ লাগতেছে বা বিকেল বেলা খারাপ লাগছে, call up my cousin, yo, চলো খাইতে যাই বা ঘুরে আসি. And one of the most fascinating things, I was smiling like a dumb idiot when you just walked like Ashla. There's a reason, because so much of the content you create, you represent Bangladesh in such an amazing way. I love that. I might not seem like a patriotic person here, but you know how there was this thing, TikTokers saying, Amra Bangladesh ki represent kori. I was like, okay. But you see these YouTubers, a big shout out to Khaled Al-Amiri. I recommend you watching him.
Dude. Yeah. I'm in his group as well. I follow the guy.
I love that.
Love that energy.
The way he...
Salama.
Salama, yeah. Right? Exactly. Salama. Yeah. And like,
so
the way he communicates with his followers in a wholesome way, the way he represents UAE is so amazing. Like, bhal lage. Genuinely bhal lage. Tottike bhal lage. And the connection he has is with his wife. In this 2021 hookup culture messes with our mind so much. I don't know if anyone faces this problem, but I had this thought that I'm never going to be loved in my life because of this hookup culture thingy. Right. Khaled Amiri changed my mind.
But throwing into another couple that I really liked, and even though they didn't follow the traditional YouTube, Facebook way of doing it, is Shawar and Maria, right? The couple. Have you seen them?
I've heard of them.
You should. You should definitely check them out. Mass might think of them as something, but I love that there's this amazing connection between them. I'll send you the link to check them out.
Sure.
It's appeared out of nowhere in the last 6 months, and boom. And the woman, she's Belgian. She speaks Bangla. That's how it goes.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, I recently went to Taito, and that's like a hit.
Yeah.
Wow. But as you were saying, sorry.
No worries. So the way they represent their country, I don't see any Bengali people doing that.
And even if you do, you get dragged down, by the way.
Yeah.
Someone else has this different patriotic thought about it. Like, you can't speak about Bangladesh this way. I'm like, yeah, but it's my thought. Let me speak.
Well, the biggest thing that's ruining Bangladesh is the people of Bangladesh, and I don't see it in a negative way. The thing is, this, I think every Bengali people have heard of this. Bangladesh baje, bideshe porte chole jao. Even teachers have said it. So here's the thing. Even if you say that, at least mention je amader deshke amader ekটু improve kora uchit.
There's a way to say it.
Yeah. আমি ছোটবেলা থেকে I've heard যে Bangladesh trash, like by my own family, by my friends and everything, right? And now that I think about it, I have to leave everything and go to a foreign country, right? You see proud Americans, proud Indians, so proud of their country. Bhal lage. You feel good.
Yeah,
you're representing your country in a wide mass, and they see you as someone. He's representing his country in such a big manner, right?
Dude, it hits you right here when especially when you meet someone.
And I don't see that in Bangladesh. That's the most unfortunate thing. Like, Saqib Al Hasan gets shit on. Can you believe that? Because of a few minor things that he does.
But you know what? Of course, I respect whatever you're saying, and definitely, like, we all have different thoughts. Not saying I'm, opposing what you're saying. Most of what you're saying is definitely true. But just like you, I think The biggest problem আমাদের দেশে, one of the biggest problem, দেশে না, sorry, দেশ বলবো না, because বাংলাদেশ যদি গালি দিয়ে থাকে at the end of the day, you are blaming it on an area and on a region and stuff like that. But you, individuals, the community are to blame. You know, Bangladesh is like, what have I done? You know, I'm here, you're living in me, and you are wasting me and you're galifying me. You know, imagine if this country had feelings, she would purge us out, like move. You know, I don't need you. Not like this. You know, I was born because of you, and you're blaming me for stuff that you're doing. So at the end of the day, we need to know more. The podcast is one of those way to do this stuff. You know, you speak your mind. When you do, there is a Rakib and a Ronnie and Cynthia going like, okay, I just heard something new today. This is amazing. I never knew about this. You know, we knowledge tar to beshi darkar for us to even grow.
And like, you know, the most easiest thing to do that, like we do that. Bengali people do that, but in a negative way. You see how Bangladesh is sort of trash.
Okay, research
around in it's circle out. কেউ বিশ্বাস করুক বা না করুক, সবার মুখে কিন্তু কম বেশি থাকে। সবার মুখে কম বেশি থাকে, বলে আরে হুর ময়লা সব জায়গায়। Thing is, ওই মানুষটা কিন্তু ময়লা ফেলাচ্ছে, সব জায়গায় আছে। But that's the point here. What? You never notice this, but do you know what you're doing? You're saying it though you love your country, but you never notice what you're doing. As a kid, I used to hear people who I used to say these things. When we're saying it, other people who are very open-minded about it, they get this concept in their mind and they become shut. Kids, our brothers, our cousins, choto friend, you know, like the younger generation, they grow up with this mentality. Our biggest goal in our nation is to escape from our country, to go bideshe je ekta job khujar. Why can't we create more opportunities in our country? Why can't we do something? Why can't we push as a community? Think about it in that way. Right.
But there is also so many different perspectives. Like, you know, I grew up in the Middle East, and if in that sense, Middle East being, by the way, a lot more local than it is, international. Did I say it right? Like when you grow up in America, of course, the multilingual, multicultural stuff that you get, and your accent changes into whatever it is, and depends, whatever. When I came to Bangladesh, I was more happy. I was happier. Not that I hated Saudi Arabia. It's my second home, man. I miss how it was. I could blindly tell you what it is and everything from the Quran. That's, you know, whatever. That's my turf. That's like I'm a goalie, kind of like that. But even there, you know, when someone would speak about Bangladesh, you would just stand up and go like, yeah, you know, it just hits you. And আমাদের স্কুলে Pakistani students ও ছিল, Sri Lankan students ও ছিল, African students ও, মানে দেশ থেকে। The respect they have for our, like অনেকে বলেন, oh, Pakistan, oh, India. আমাদের জীবনেও ছিল না। There was more tolerance and understanding depending on places, and as much as we showed the love, and especially তুমি বললে না যে অনেকে এরকম মনে করে বাংলাদেশকে, and so on and so forth, and the idea of it, এই তিনটা পাকিস্তানে আমাদের খুব ক্লোজ ফ্রেন্ড ছিল, and one of them is basically my best friend. 16 ডিসেম্বরে বা 26শে মার্চে and 16 ডিসেম্বরে তাদের ন্যাশনাল কাপড় পরে আসছিল। ন্যাশনাল মানে আমাদের, ফর এক্সাম্পল, মানে ওদের যে 4-5টা যে ইয়াগুলো আছে, and they made sure they sing the Bangladeshi national anthem sitting right up front in front of the stage. And if that didn't, it hit everyone in a positive way. Ora kichu boleni. They didn't go like, dekho amra eta kortesi. They didn't have to, they just sat there and then they proved it. I remembered the image, you know, and it showed. And anyone, oneke gagali korte, even though they have Pakistani friends, and they just shut up. Things just changed. I guess it depends where you grow up, your perspectives and everything. And I'm sure at the end of the day, Bangladesh bolo, community bolo, tumi ja kortecho ota through the kauke tumi influence korte paro. At the end of the day, when you go abroad, you would still, if someone go like, hey, from Bangladesh, you would expect two things. Amake gali dite jacche ekhon. And the person goes like, I have this thing from your country, it's called fuchka, and it's the greatest thing in the world. You'd be like, you know, you'd be like, I can tell you about more stuff. You know, there's this thing called chanachur. Like, what's chanachur? It's like, sit down, you know?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. It's
believe me, আমাদের opportunity আসবে, and we'll make the country shine. We'll make the country proud.
Exactly. It's thing is, I feel like content creators সব থেকে বেশি বুঝে, because they get so much hate, right, from their own community, that they're like, they have
the voice, by the way. It's on them to speak the right way, what people don't.
And my pitch about patriotism or changing your country isn't influencing others. My thing is, you don't need to change anyone. You don't need to change your parents. You don't need to change your little brother or anything. Just change yourself. Make little changes. Just change the way you talk about things, right? And thing is, it just kind of makes sense because তুমি এখন ছোট আছো, one day you'll grow up to be the society, right? All of your friends, you eventually will replace them. So your time will come. So prepare yourself for it. Like my point is, I don't need to change. And thing is, you know how people easily say it's so easy to influence others? It's hard because when I think about it, when I think of parenting, right? Sometimes I think of it like as me as a dad. So raising a kid is so difficult. You make him comfortable. That's sort of like in the spoiling way. You don't give him too much. You make him a bit, like it's such a complicated line. And I'm like, fuck, it's hard. It's hard. So, and my parents never came out to me and told me many things about these things. Huh?
Right.
They never said. But then I feel like, they weren't bad parenting, but they never did much. They never went out of their way and, did much. But I was like sort of amazed. One of the biggest things I regret about আমার খারাপ লাগে about Bengali parents is, how your parents are, they never share much about their lives. I mean, most of them, like typical strict Bengali parents, not mostly about mine, but about 80% or 60% never share their personal life with their kids. You realize you grow up
rigidness.
Yeah, like you always want to know I'm just gonna be straight up no filter here, which is the first hookup, the first kiss, the first hit of like whatever you're into. So you ever wonder আমার প্যারেন্টসরা এটা করছিল বা ট্যাকল করছিল বা আমাদের মারা কি এসব কখনো করছিল? Probably they did. You never know, but they won't never share. I want to do this thing with my parents before I die. When they're pretty old, I want to sit my other boshe. I want to tell them, you're great parents, but I did so many things you never knew about. I was a naughty kid, but I'm grateful for all of the things and I want you to know it because I don't want you to die or pass away without knowing your 100% of who your kid is. That's such a thing.
But then again, depends. You never know. They probably know a lot of things that you think I don't know about your parents. I'm just saying in general. You never know.
That's the thing. You're gonna realize that they know it. You're gonna be like,
and suddenly they go like, hey. Son, I knew. You'd be like, for 50 years I've been waiting to tell you. They were like, we were testing you and you passed. Get him the favorite pudding that he liked. You knew I liked this pudding? But yeah, sorry.
But it's like such a thing, and like big shout out to all of the parents who are very comfortable with their child. It's a risky thing because it can go both ways,
I completely agree, and I believe I've had the positive side of it, and they would never go like, I just knew I don't have to do it, and I didn't,
and
just as it is.
This is the reason why the first question I asked you, Jay, the extent you went with your passion is so incredible.
Arigatou gozaimasu.
I like that. I like the Japanese reference. Good. I wish I knew welcome, the Japanese word. Shit. I know moshi moshi, which is hello, hello.
No, I think it would be like hi. I don't know what it is.
Hi.
I don't know what the answer. After anime, দেখার পর আমি still এটার উত্তর দিতে পারি না. I still go like, welcome in Japanese. Oh, it's almost the same word. Gomen? No, that's sorry. Whatever.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's like this thing. It's like people, I feel like people should have a healthy balance in everything. A little bit of open-mindedness if you introduce it to especially this generation, I guess. Then I think things would be a lot easier. You wouldn't be extremists in many ways because I've seen so many of my friends go in extreme measures of many things. I'm like, it's not like we don't party, we don't go crazy in certain times, but being like that all the time is just, I've seen people who are not considerate of their parents, like, and considerate of many people. It's just kind of sad, I mean, no matter how big of an asshole they might be to you, if they are, because there are abusive parents, I cannot say anything, who am I to, but just have that bit of respect. Well, not, you don't have to change anyone. Just change yourself a bit. Have some ethics. Have some rules.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I guess with every decade, it changes to a different year, I know. But, I'm sorry, no disrespect. I mean, for example, for me, when I grew up, it's almost in the same line, but not in the same year. But I'm talking about the whole thought process. A quick one was when I would meet someone just a month older than me. And I'm not, it depends on it. Person to person would depend. But one of my closest friends is literally 13 years older than me. I don't give a damn. But it does affect me because I grew up like this. So like, it's not they're probably like 60 years older than me, But now it's more like, hey, come on, and the person's like, I'm 8 years older than you, right? Start with that. I'm not saying show your place, but there's always something. There's this respect thing, and it's not parents teaching. It's eibhabe shore, but desher baire ki you. There is an apni or tumi or tui. There's a you. I guess amader eto globalization amader thought process gulo change hoye geche kichu. And how we look at parents, how parents look at us, how we look at friends and everything, relationship and everything. Onek kichur moddhe kintu kemon jani chole asche. Each country, each society has a way of bringing up stuff and thought processes and everything. But there's also ways to deal with it, I guess. But I really hope with your parents and with everyone else watching that the relationship, a point comes in where conversation opens up. That's very important. It's one of the most important things in these things.
Well, if there's anything, there has been a long time the podcast has been going on. So let's set up. No worries. No. It's good. It's good. Editing can always be done, but you can never replace a good, healthy bonding, No doubt about that. So if there's anything you would say to, this new gen, for example, even me or even my friends or people older than me, people younger than me, a few advice that you would give about pursuing your passion. Because I feel like the older people know one thing that I respect the most is maintaining your work life and your passion.
Yeah.
That's something.
Wow. I'll try to structure it and make it as possible because like I said, I like I could probably give like 4 books right now. But these are all my thoughts once again, and I'm not here to tell you tomar erokomi korte hobe bhaiya, not like that. These are just my thoughts and some of the many things. First of all, amar mone hocche jeta ami Hanex amra boli to the beatboxers. Don't just go in eta na je jack of all trades, master of none hoye jao. I know that's what I am. Eta dhore eta shikhe tapetto kori. I learned the word procrastination quite din age. I didn't know. I quite bochor age. I didn't know. That's what I used to like, go chill out. But that impacts your life as well. So going back to the main thing was, don't just assume, research karo. I'm saying this from the point of view because remember the bollam na je encyclopedia ta. So আমি আন্টির পাশে যখন যেতাম আমি এরকম করে আলমারির উপর এনসাইক্লোপিডিয়াটা দেখতাম টিভি চলতেছে এখানে জর্জ মাইকেলের গান চলতেছে and stuff like that and I would just go like I just want to pick that book up and I get up and take the book and I would open up in chapter number 17 Napoleon and I would be like oh wow France oh he was in the island oh that's what Hitler did And I got fascinated with World War II, and I would always watch. No matter what, I would watch historical stuff because of that moment. So, research jinishta khub pochondo kori. And thanks to internet, if I watch something, I'm like, what is that? Okay, Google, blah, blah, blah. Like, no. So, anyone watching movies with me would be like, how many times do you have to interrupt the movie to do this? The movie's like half an hour, you're making it look like 7 hours. But I would be like, this is what it is. That's how samurai started. It's not like that. Like, okay, let's watch the movie. But I think everyone needs to know. I'm not saying that pura prithibhi jante hobe. When you speak, know enough to have proper backing for it. I know that আমি সবকিছু জানি না আমার এখনো I still feel like I have not even done this much in my life. Sorry, what am I saying? I've done this much in my life, not done what I should have by the age. And আমার always পিছনে যেতে করে. And এটা বড় ব্যাপার কি জানো আমরা এখন মনে করি যে আমাদের ফ্রিডম অফ স্পিচ আছে বাট we apparently don't. But what I'm saying, if you know, সেটা হচ্ছে যে the obro warriors. Hey, just show us by the way, the stuff where you're typing, that's the internet. You do know, just open up a tab, search the word you're writing about, and see the history before you talk about it if you don't know stuff. and suddenly এরকমই 10টা মানুষ লেখা শুরু করে, and they're all talking about BS none of them know about. Like আমি একটা acapella video করছি, they all started comparing it with something, and what I did, ওই ভিডিওটা কার সাথে কানেক্টেড ছিল, কোন ডিরেক্টর কোন ক্যামেরা ইউজ করছে, I did that, and I put in 17 stories behind it, and I'm like, so you have anything to say about this acapella video or the ones that I mentioned? Did you watch all of them? No. Like, nah, bhaiya ashole bhul hoyse ar ki. Like, yeah, internet research. So I really think people need to open up their minds. That's the first thing. Open up your minds. I know আমরা এমন একটা সোসাইটিতে আছি যে সবসময় ঘোড়ার এই জিনিসটা নিয়ে এরকম করে বসাই দিয়ে থাকে. That's pretty much how it is. And you're older, you're probably telling people like, hey, you know, you can look into life and do something bigger, but you're still not opening the Quran closed eye thing. Number 1, research. Number 2, listen to stories. You know, let your expressions take flight. And if someone has to say something, and I mean, yes, I understand sometimes you would like to give your opinion over the person. I do that a lot. And even though I'm like, hey, open up your mind, I'm easily like, hey, buchi, I do that. And I apologize to everyone I do that with. But at the end of the day, ব্যাপারটা কেমন হয়ে দাঁড়ায় সত্যি কথা বলতে, যে লাইক এই যে ফ্যামিলি ক্ষেত্রে তুমি যেটা বললে, এটা একটা বিশাল বড় কমিউনিকেশনের একটা ইয়ে হয়ে দাঁড়ায়, and especially the opposite, when you can't speak at all, there's a huge gap that starts happening, and you feel you're leading separate lives within yourself, and you start speaking to yourself, and all you do is share with yourself and do nothing. So when we met beatboxers, when we started talking about these things to them, they're like, bhai ami nije boshe beatboxing kori, baba ma bishwash kore na, পছন্দ করে না। একটু এরকম একটা আন্টি আমাদেরকে চ্যালেঞ্জ করছিল যে বাচ্চাদেরকে কি করছো তোমরা, পর আন্টিকে আমরা রিকোয়েস্ট করে একটা ওয়ার্কশপে নিয়ে আসছি, and we worked really hard for the workshop, and we introduced biology, chemistry, and physics, and beatboxing. How are they connected? Biology, because of the stuff, physics, oscillation, and a lot of stuff, mathematics. And I'm like, auntie, by the way, আমরা 4 কাউন্টের যখন জিনিস করি, আমরা প্রোগ্রেসিভ কাউন্ট বলে একটা জিনিস আছে, and we go 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 1 2 and stuff. They're like, she's like, I didn't know that. I'm like, that will help your son with math. And you know, you kind of, oh, I didn't know that, and stuff happened. And her son, well, not her specifically, our auntie Chele became the 2-time champion out of the show, one of the best beatboxers of the scene. His name is Anarchy. You should check him out, and so on and so forth. So এই দুইটা জিনিস। আরেকটা বড় ব্যাপার কি, সেটা হচ্ছে যে টু বি মোর টলারেন্ট। এই যে আমরা এমন একটা সময় চলে আসছি যে আই এম স্টিল, ইউ নো, if this entire video goes out and people actually watch this for the amount of time you're watching this, and you've heard everything me and Salman had to say, thank you so much, and we appreciate that you actually gave your time to watch the entire video, and it shows that you have that patience to listen and you have your opinions to give. Please write it in the comment section. But to be honest, এটা একটা বড় ব্যাপার হচ্ছে যে আমাদের গোল্ডফিশ মেমোরি তো, and how it is like flip, and you miss some of the biggest moments. You could keep the phone down and pick up the book thief like you did and read something, you know, and then you start connecting. Sometimes you feel so known, you're like, the world doesn't know me, because you haven't tried connecting with them, or you probably did and you don't know how that might be something. Like I can talk to an anime person, connection, beatboxing connection, TV connection. I watch a lot of Mr. Mobile and Marcus Brownlee. I watch a lot of mobile reviews, even though I don't understand. Yeah, MKBHD, and I love the way they speak. The scripting by Mr. Mobile, I keep looking back at how he did it, and then stuff like that. So bottom line is actually what overall জিনিস একটাই শব্দ দিয়ে আমি breakdown করতে চাই. The advice to the people right now: be curious. That's the only thing. Be curious, because that way you can develop yourself even better. Like I'm not going through the best time of my life right now. It's a fact. But I'm curious, and that's what's keeping my insanity. If I wasn't curious, I would be like, you know, I would be slumped, depressed, and broken down. But curiosity keeps me alive. That's when I get calmer, because I just flip and I start reading something. That's how it is. That's how it goes. Be curious, that's it. And be respectful. Be humble. Yes, be humble, you know. That's the biggest thing.
Thank you, man. Thank you for sharing all these information. It really means a lot, because I feel like the biggest prop to the podcast is not the hype, not the followers, not even the views. It's the bonding that you make, you know, with the person. Because I found so much about Bangla hip hop in a foreign country from talking with Big D Bangla. He lives in Singapore, right? and he does
I
Bangla
know,
music.
I know a friend of his. He's also a beatboxer. If you ever meet,
Nice.
ever chat with Big D, just ask him about Pirathiban, because they live probably in the same area. Anyways, please go on.
Yeah, so yeah, I was talking with him, and there's so many things that I found out, and I was like mind blown. Like,
what?
yeah, and the way him and I bonded, and it was so I got to know about his process and everything. He has many haters and everything, but I feel like I have a genuine respect for curious people and people who go out of their way to express themselves, right? Whatever it is, right? Many people comment on his song lyrics like a rickshaw full of hoes, or pie. If that's what you're into, say it. Don't keep it down, and then you see another guy with
What did you say?
Exactly. Like, and then you always had that thought in your mind, and you see another guy with a rickshaw full of hoes, and like, আমি এটা করতে পারতাম, ভাই করোনি কেন? You করোনি কেন?
Yeah, but এখানে কত breakdown আছে এটা নিয়ে. But yeah, that's a story on its own, on a different But yeah, he did what he did. He did what he did.
Exactly. So that's the thing, like the bonding, like every single guest, it's fascinating. It's a book of its own. It's a beautiful way of
You said it. The word book is because we're all storytellers.
Exactly.
And I wish apparently there's a library where you don't borrow books, you talk to people. This podcast is kind of like that library.
Damn, that's a nice way of putting it.
BeatBaksho.
Damn.
Is a library, whatever. Wow.
That was a good line, not gonna lie.
Yeah, sometimes I end up giving stuff like that, and I'll probably think, Mark Twain chobi shore amarta boshai. They comment code দিয়ে দেব and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I surprise myself, but whatever.
You know, sometimes you say things like, I say a few things, হঠাৎ করে, and my friend's like, damn, like, what the I'm like, I said that? Wow. I don't know. At the, like, there was this thing that I said in the Dear Bengali People, একদম শেষের দিকে. It's not something I would say in my normal analytical brain. I said that যে দেশের মানুষ যেখানে বাংলাদেশি সেখানে. Hear me out. Like the normal me the hyperactive, cheerful guy would not go into that deeper thought and say it, right? The point I make, it all connects like dot. You change yourself, everyone changes themselves, they represent their country, it's a better country.
Wow.
But yeah, it's like
that's amazing. Yeah,
it kind of makes sense.
What was the line again? Bangali. Wait, say it again.
দেশের মানুষ যেখানে বাংলাদেশি সেখানে. Why is people say, that old guy in an anime who's just about to die and he's like, yo son, I have to tell you this thing before I die. And the character's like, don't die before saying that. Yeah. Allah. Yeah.
Oh wow.
But yeah, it's like basically the sum of everything. So
42.
Ending.
You do know what 42 is, right?
No, I didn't catch that.
Read The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and find what I said. 42. This is for everyone. If you watch the movie,
I'll keep that in mind.
I'll say it quickly. It's the answer to life, apparently.
Damn.
Read the book. It's amazing.
All right, noted. So thank you guys for watching the whole episode. If you guys did watch it, if you're mad enough to watch the full episode, then congratulations. Like, yeah, that's crazy.
Whoa.
Yes, sir. Then comment down below what you found the most interesting thing about, and check out Beats with Baksho, check out BeatBaksho, and check out Beatbox Bangladesh. Represent. There's so many things, and I feel like the most important thing that we can learn from this whole conversation is this, just be curious, because if I didn't come across that one video from Ontik Mahmood, I might have not even had this conversation right now. Would have not even known that this whole community, like Battle Balls Bangladesh, was there and everything, this whole thing. So, it all kind of connects. Just be curious. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening, and stay tuned.